You're listening to Band Practice with Matthew and Krebs. Rock out with your cock out.
It's time for a quickie.
So, New Jersey just signed a new gun law. No magazine can have more than 10 rounds. So you have to permanently alter your magazines or surrender them. And you have, I think they said it was like 100, it was like 80 days to do it or some shit. And the main police chief over in New Jersey was interviewed about, how are you going to enforce this? What are you going to do? Are you going to go door to door? And he's like, we haven't ruled it out.
Yeah, good luck with that. My friend Justin has a brother named Asher who's a cop. I think it's North Florida, I think. And they've gotten into the whole like gun debate, and and his brother said, the day they ban anything that I have to go door to door, I quit. I'm not doing that. I'm not getting shot for that.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there might be some cops who like a couple people get pissed and don't want to give it up, and a thing happens like. It's one thing when they like break in and they're doing something, they shoot your dog or something. Like I get that, but you're taking their guns, and you have guns, and they have guns. Like this is, I don't see this going well.
I can see it real great. This is how it would go. Be like, they could knock on my door, come on in, guys. I'm gonna get you the magazines real quick. Go and sit in the living room. Have a seat. I'll be right back. Fuck you.
How will they know though if somebody has them?
I don't know.
Is that a thing that like because
they're not serialized and they may be by the manufacturer or something, but they don't have an idea. I mean, I'm sure they have a guesstimate of how many there are or where they are, but they don't fucking know.
How could you tell if it was altered permanently or not, or just tell them it is, or do they have something like to look at?
I'm sure they can. Well, depending on the magazine. So like, I know like a lot of the Glocks and Springfields and stuff. They have there's actually number holes in the back of the magazine, so as you load the magazine, you can tell how many rounds are in it.
Okay.
But if it goes past 10, I don't know how you would tell that. Or tell if it's altered or not. Maybe you might have to. Maybe the legislation has some kind of like deal, like you have to take it to somewhere and have it altered and have the proof that it was been altered or something. I don't know.
So when does New York or Connecticut invade Jersey with larger round magazines? Like, just take cover, guys. They only have 10 shots.
I don't think New York would do it. Their gun laws are even stricter.
Oh, that's right. Well,
Connecticut would be my guess.
Well, the New York City is like that, but the entire state, I don't know.
The entire state, no, but New York City, yeah.
Yeah.
And they got massive gun laws.
I think Connecticut should do it because Connecticut is nothing but a road to New York. It's boring as fuck. I drove through there, and I swear to God, the entire state looks like the same. Like, did you ever play like SimCity?
Yeah.
You could like you could design the landscape square by square.
Yeah.
I think God just took the same like square mile and then just hit copy paste. for all of Connecticut. It just looks. It's not a bad place. It's a nice place, but it's just boring. There's just nothing on there.
I just remember in SimCity, we used to have to play. We didn't have to, but we got to play SimCity in computer class in middle school. I remember that.
Yeah.
And I forget what it was. I think for the original SimCity, it was you could just type in funds, and you would get free money.
Yep.
And you could have like unlimited money, and then just build everything. And then in SimCity 2000, it was Priscilla. If you typed in Priscilla, you would get a shit ton of money. But the problem was that if you SimCity 2000, if you did it too many times, you would start having natural disasters.
Yeah.
And like they would wreck your shit.
That game, looking back, is actually a pretty good test for future success because me and most people I know, we all just did the whatever cheat codes and then just build whatever. My friend who writes for Bloomberg, Derek. He actually knew, like I would see like a building like go gray, because it was abandoned and I wouldn't know why, so I just bulldoze it. He actually understood how the game actually works, how you had to have a police station, and there are certain zones that should be next to some zones and not close to others. Like don't put industrial next to residential. And all that. And his city was incredible. In SimCity 2000, there's a thing where you would get they would build these like biodome sphere kind of things that like rose up like giant towers, and when you got a number of them, they would shoot into space, and then something else would be built there, but you would still get the income from that. So he was like way beyond all of us in this fucking game, And now he writes for Bloomberg. And in February, they're sending him to Singapore, his entire family. Like,
Oh, wow.
To be to like basically like head up that I don't know, just the Singapore Bloomberg News. And I'm like, how much money did they give you? He goes, fucking all of it. I'm like, did they pay? And I'll bet they're paying for your move, aren't they? All of it.
That's
All of
awesome.
it. It's all yeah. Oh, he's like, dude, you have to come hang out. I'm like, I've never thought of a bet. I've never like. I'm totally gonna have to, you know. I don't know. Is there like
You've never had a reason to go to Singapore before?
no, and now I can finally lie to him and say, yeah, dude, we should totally catch up. But really, I just want to go to Singapore, mostly just because like people like Ben Shapiro and like other like pretty hardcore capitalist conservatives, like they always rave about it because they have like the least amount of
Regulations?
yeah, and they and like what was it, like 30, 40 years ago they were like nothing, and now they're like.
Hey, look
Doing
at that.
amazing, yeah.
You let businesses do what businesses do, and guess what? They make money. Who would have thought that?
Well, the only like the counter argument to that is like it's the same people to say it's one culture. Like it's I get that you have to do certain things differently because like we have more diversity in this fucking country than like any other country. Like what is that?
Well, laws of supply and demand still apply.
I'm just saying like they're doing well. It'd be difficult to do exactly as they do, but I'm not saying I wouldn't be willing to try.
Oh yeah, invisible hand. I remember specifically I was talking to somebody and they were extremely pushing the social agenda, and they were like, we don't believe. I said something about like this is a market correction. The invisible hand is doing its thing. We need to let it do its thing. And her response was, we don't believe the market will correct itself. And that's when I ended the conversation. I was like, the market is always going to correct itself. Always. It's like gravity. You can't not believe in market corrections. It's the earth is round no matter how bad you think it's flat, right? Like market corrections are a thing. What constitutes a market correction might not be what you think it's going to be, but the market will correct itself. Supply and demand demands it. Like that's how it works.
But there are limitations to that. Eric Weinstein talks about how there's the market will tell you the best way. It will help you figure out the best way to do a thing. It doesn't necessarily tell you the best things you want.
Yes.
Like, because we're all like glued to our phones now. Why? Because we like it and it like raises dopamine and all that shit. So and we're kind of addicted to it. But is it really the best thing for us? Doesn't matter. They figured out how to get us addicted to it.
Yeah.
So that's the market working. I mean, the phone I have now, which is dying, is still like light years better than what I had like 5 years ago. Like,
Oh yeah.
and they're gonna keep getting better and cheaper, but it doesn't mean that we should be getting addicted to them.
No, it's hard. It's hard to put it down. It is. It's a fight. Actually, though, I tell you what. Okay, so for work, I have an iPad and a work phone. We got an iPhone, so I have that and my personal, and I'm messing with them all day for different things. By the time I get home, I don't really care about the phone too much anymore. Like, I'm okay with setting it down for a little bit. It feels good. Like I get that break from it because it gets too saturated throughout the day for me.
I can kind of tell like. Actually, when you get home, because like you take like I think you'll kind of message me like before you go to bed or something.
Yeah.
Because you're not looking at your phone. But if you're at work and like you're at lunch, like we'll have a quick back and forth.
Yeah.
I can kind of tell when you're at home.
Yeah. When I get home, I try not to mess with it on purpose, just because, I get so saturated with that screen time. I'm like, fuck. Like through work, I'm just all right. I'm done with this. I don't care what's going on. I don't need to know. I'm good.
You know, it's a problem when some of the like major tech people in like Palo Alto. Like all those tech geeks, a lot of them are going back to flip phones. It's true.
I know Joe Rogan was talking about it. Him and some buddies, they had like a challenge or whatever, and they went to flip phones.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, to like get off. I guess he went dry on Instagram and shit. Like he just closed himself off from it, like Instagram and Twitter and all that shit, for like a month, and then came back.
This wasn't recent.
No, it wasn't recent. And
Okay,
then a couple guys he's had on the show that he knows, like a couple comedians, all did the same thing. Like they shut themselves off for a little bit and came back, and they were able to, have a balance management of being able to use it and not use it, like because they walked away from it for a little bit. Because when you first get into it, like, or first start messing with that stuff, it is super addictive. Like you're there all the time. Gotta check, see the updates. But yeah.
I'll tell you what I miss about the flip phone is I could drive and text because I don't need to look at it. I
Yeah.
know exactly 3524. Like I don't need to see that shit. That was awesome.
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, man, I could drive and text. Now I can't do that shit because I have to look at the keyboard. Back then, you're right. Yeah, you could put the phone down and just not even look at it in text because you knew where all the buttons were.
Yeah. Although now apparently a lot of the voice to text stuff is really good, but that's why I have a phone. I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
And those old phones, especially the Nokias, how long is that battery? 2-3 days?
Oh yeah.
You would forget the charger and go to work and like be fine. Like you didn't fucking worry about it at all.
Oh, do you hear what California's doing?
Oh God, no! What now?
Oh yeah, this is great.
Are they banning forest fires?
I think they're trying to do that, but first they're gonna tax text messaging to start a program for cell phones for the less fortunate. So every time you send a text, you're gonna pay a tax, and then that money's gonna go to pay for cell phones for the less fortunate, low income.
Okay. Good luck at that because you're not taxed fucking enough.
Yeah. Oh God.
Oh God, who was it? The governor, I think. It wasn't made a big deal, but the governor even had to. All right, so the left is super about environmentalism and all that stuff, but even their like super left governor had to come out and say, maybe part of the reason we have so many fires is we have too many trees because they stopped cutting down so many trees, for paper and lumber and all that. He's like, maybe we could do with less trees because then they wouldn't be on fire right now.
Well, okay, so when everyone was talking about the forest fires because Trump went on about rake the woods or whatever, like I was like, okay, what the hell are they talking about? Because everybody was like, it's global warming. I'm like, okay, California's has always been on fire as long as I can remember. So how's global warming changed this? Let me read into this. So what's going on is because the average temperature has changed in California, the bugs in the woods have changed. So there's a whole new ecosystem moving into a lot of the woods that are there, like different microscopic animals and different bugs or whatever. I forget what it was. So what they did was they made a bunch of laws preventing people from clearing brush, right?
Oh, really?
And the reason why was because that brush was beneficial to the existing ecosystem and not the ones moving in, right? Or not the new bugs moving in. So the idea was to try to save the status quo of the environment, right? So they wanted to save the bugs they already had and not let the new ones just take over. So they made all these laws that they couldn't clear as much brush as they could before. Like the laws were the conservation laws were so like stringent, like they couldn't dead brush they weren't allowed to clear out because that dead brush was food for those bugs. Yeah. So
we don't know nature. We don't know
so
what we're doing.
fire fucking happens and guess what? Nature cleaned itself up because we didn't move the fucking brush out of the way. So and you can take that one of two ways and go, okay, it's global warming's fault, or maybe it's because we didn't clear the fucking woods. So not clearing the woods is probably a direct answer of why we have a massive fire out there. And maybe we can make better fucking, common sense conservation laws and still be able to clear out the fucking brush. And the other problem they had was that people, I guess, in the last decade have gone and bought property out in the middle of the woods. And so they build a house in the middle of the woods and live there. So now the state has to go and spend massive amounts of resources to try and save their property.
Oh.
because they all bought in like huge fire territories. So now the state's wasting massive resources to save these people's property versus killing the fire. So like, yeah. There's a whole lot of mitigating factors, but and the more I was reading into it, Trump was actually okay. So he had a really good point. I mean, not to rake the fucking woods, and I don't care if he had a conversation with the guy from what country was it?
What?
He went off and said he had a conversation with the dude from Norway. I forget the name. What country it was?
I don't know.
Whatever country it was, they have I think it was 3 trees for every single person on the planet. Like they have a massive amount of forestry, and they do not have a fire problem. But they also have a massive forest service, and guess what they do? They clear out the fucking brush.
No.
They take preventative measures to do this. But
Although the one time we actually got it right in like helping nature bounce out itself, I can't remember if it was Yellowstone or Yosemite, but it was one of the major protected parks. They reintroduced wolves.
I remember this
for the first time, and it changed the course of a river, because they hunted something, that someone killed beavers, like it changed the physical structure of this area.
Yeah.
which I think
I think it was Yellowstone.
is it Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Which apparently Joe Rogan talks about this a couple times. I love it because it's when pictures of this come up, it makes all the SJWs go nuts. Australia has a horrible like house cat problem in that they have so many house cats there, but Australia's not. It's not a really well balanced ecosystem. Like everything there can kill you.
Yeah.
But they brought in so many house cats that not everybody wants them, so they just roam free, and the cats are decimating all the ground birds, all the ground nesting birds, like decimating anything smaller than them. So they're actually encouraging them to go out and kill like just regular cats, and they'll pay them for that. So Australians are like killing cats, and they're holding up the cats because they make like so much each cat, and people are going nuts because they look like if you had a cat, it looks like a fucking tabby or a tuxedo, and people here are like getting pissed and going nuts, but it's like, dude, you don't understand what's going on over there. They need to do this, or maybe they need to reintroduce wolves. I don't know.
Yeah. Right. Well. That's fucking awesome. I can just see the SJWs going nuts.
Yeah.
I'm envisioning right now, like, going to an Australian's house, and there's, like, 12 or 15 cat heads mounted on the wall like trophies.
I got one of every color.
Yeah, right?
That's funny.
Oh, God. Joe Rogan was talking about it, too. He said, was it not wolves,
Coyotes.
coyotes. Yeah.
He had the coyote guy on. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
It's really fucking good.
And then
Coyotes are actually in every state, in every continental state here, and they're even in cities because they're fucking like really smart and well adapted animals.
yeah, and they're like taking over like all kinds of ecosystems, and it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Well, because they're like I don't know, they're highly hybridized over like many generations to the point where, like, even when they put out poison, like if one dies, the rest somehow know that that's what killed it. So they tell everybody else, and they have a certain like howl they do. That if they start dying, this howl somehow increases the size of the litters.
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
from like 3 to 5.
So you can't just off one.
Yeah, but if you leave them alone, actually, they actually get to a certain number, and then they don't hurt anybody. They don't. I think the only issue people really have with coyotes is just that. They occasionally will like go, pick up your Pomeranian and kill it. Yeah. Or your house cat, but it's only because they see them as like a threat to their food source. If they're well fed, they tend to not do that. But that's like just another like example of a species sort of self-regulating if you leave it alone, like the market.
Yeah.
Bringing it back.
Bring it back. Full circle. Full circle. You know what's funny? So, you notice how there's not a lot of Smokey the Bear ads anymore?
No, there's not.
Yeah, you want to know why?
Why?
Because the Smokey Bear campaign was so effective, it was actually causing more forest fires.
How?
Because so what was happening is people were going out and they would see a little forest fire and they would put it out themselves, and they would report every little forest fire, every little smoldering. And so they were going out and they would put it out, and then all of a sudden, once again, the brush would build up. And then they'd have a massive fucking fire that they couldn't put out. That's why we started having all these fucking firestorms and shit. And so, yeah, that's why they stopped doing Smokey the Bear. That's why he's not, like, on TV every fucking 10 minutes anymore.
I liked him, though.
Yeah, he was fun.
I also miss, what is his name? The crime dog. What was his name? He had the jacket.
Ruff.
McGruff, yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to him? Did we stop crime and we don't need him anymore, or...
I don't know.
Or did we find out he was touching little kids too, and now he's in jail, like fucking Jared from Subway? I don't know.
Whatever. I still eat Subway.
I do too.
It's good.
Oh god damn it. Tom Segura apparently was in talk. This is years ago, but he was gonna play Jared from Subway's like brother on some ads.
Really?
Yeah. He talks about it on Joe Rogan. It's really funny. And he's like, I'm glad that didn't go through. I don't want my face next to his.
That's awesome. Everyone would have just automatically assumed he was a kid diddler.
Yeah, they would just feel uncomfortable around him for no good reason. Just because your face was next to his.
Guilty by association.
Did you hear about the like when Jared got indicted? Like what his lawyer's like defense was?
No.
He had lost so much weight that it made him hypersexual and attracted to kids. Because when you get in better shape, you get hornier. But it didn't fly. But that
was his excuse?
That was his argument. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. No. Not valid.